I'm going to start first of all by taking you all the way back to your playing days. Because of course you were born in Barnsley.
Yes.
And upon leaving school you joined Manchester United. But I understand homesickness got the better of you and you moved back to your beloved homeland in South Yorkshire. Just tell us what happened there and why you didn't stay on at Manchester United.
I'd been in the same England schoolboy team as Nobby Stiles, Bob Wilson, who went on to play for Scotland, and Bobby Tamblyn. And those days, all the big clubs were after players that had got into the England schoolboy team. Yeah. And so I signed for Man United in the May '57, myself and Nobby, and joined the ground staff. It was ground staff then, there wasn't apprenticeships. And they found me digs, and lovely people, but I was an only child, and I was in digs on my own. And in the September, I went home one weekend, and David Pegg, Tommy Taylor, and Bobby Charlton were in the same car. At that time, Bobby Charlton was doing his national service, and he was big friends of David Pegg. So when he was home on leave, he'd go to Doncaster, and so they'd drop me off. And then I should have been back to be picked up on the Monday morning, and didn't want to go back. And so contacted Man United, and a chap called Bert Wally, who got killed in the Munich air crash. Sir Matt Busby sent him over to my house to try and persuade me to return. But I said no, I'd made my mind up, I wanted to stop at home. My mother hadn't been well at the time. She passed away a couple of years afterwards. But really, when I look back at it now, it's a massive mistake. I got the football world at my feet. I played in the England schoolboy team. We toured Germany, scored 3 goals, 1 at Wembley. And so, 15-year-old, hadn't seen the world. So Man United then decided to put a 2-day block on it in case I changed my mind. But they would inform Barnsley, who was my hometown club, out of respect. The next day I had a knock on my door, and it was Bill Shankly. He was managing Huddersfield then, and very upright, and he said, "You're coming to sign for Huddersfield," he said. You turned me down in the summer. He said, "I'm going to build my team around you," he said, "and another young lad that's doing well at the time, Dennis Law." He'd just gone to the first team. Yeah, he was in the first team. But I didn't go for it. And
what was that?
I'd set my mind that I wanted to sign for Barnsley. So I signed for Barnsley, 15-year-old. Then I became the youngest player ever to play in the reserves, the Central League, when I was 15. The following year, I played at Pegsley in the reserves, and Barnsley then was in the second division. I made my debut against Sheffield United. It wasn't a league game, it was a county cup game, but then you had to put your strongest sides out. And the lad at the time, John McCann, Scottish under-21 international, he was injured. So I made my debut against a chap called Cecil Colwell, a famous fullback at the time. And Alan Oxenson was the goalkeeper who died recently. And after the match, he came and shook hands with me. We'd lost 2-1, and he said, and he'd helped me, tell me when to do this, when to that. He said, "Colin," he says, "well played," he said, "but don't expect this treatment if we play if I play in the league match. I'll kick it all over the..." And welcome to Football League. So that was the end of 58. I signed pro at the end of that season, and I made my league debut. The first game of the following season we got relegated into the third division. Right. And I made my debut against Brentford at Oakwell. The second season, the manager sent for me and said, "You've had a very good season, I'm going to give you a pay rise." And it went from £12 in the summer, £14 in the reserve, and £16 in the first team. But you still only gain £2 win bonus. So that's and that was the season that still in the third division, we got to the quarter final of the FA Cup, the year that Tottenham did the double. I played in the first 3 rounds and replays, and I got carried off injured. It did my right ankle. It's a funny story. There's no subs then, and it happened in the first 10 minutes on a frozen pitch. Lads full-backs caught me. I played outside left, and I heard my ankle go. So they helped me off the pitch, and the old physio come down, and he looked and he said, it's either torn ligaments or a broken ankle. He'll be taken to the local hospital. And the manager at the time, who looked after him when I was in the youth team, John Steele, bless him, whoa, he said, Colin, he said, put a figure 8 around his ankle. Don't take the boot off, because my ankle wasn't. And they put this figure 8 around my ankle, and he said, go and stand here, where you are. And he said, can you walk towards me? Well, then you didn't argue with managers. No. So I hobbled the best I could. He said, I'm sorry, Colin. He said, but you're going back on? He said, no subs. He said, you're going on as nuisance value. He said, you're going up at the front. And so that's what happened. And just as I'm going on, he said, and don't get caught offside. I thought, well, I'm not going to get caught. Anyhow, cut a long story short, we won the game. And we got to and I didn't play in any of the other games because I was injured. We got to the quarter-final and lost. And just to end that story, years later I went to a local football reunion there, and a book had come out, and it gives you all your details, and you never forget. My daughter bought it me. And I looked, and according to the record, the game that I got injured, I didn't play. They got the chap down who replaced me in the next game. So at this football reunion, one of the chaps who'd done the book come, hello, Colin, how are you? I said, I've got a bone to pick with you. And so I told him this story. Yeah. No, he said, we checked and we double-checked. I said, well, I'm telling you. And the lad sat next to me was Eric Brookes, no relation, he was left back. And he said, Benny, he said, Brooks, he did play. So this Benny said, with the best will in the world, Eric, after all these years, 40-odd years, how would you remember whether he played or not? He said, because I helped to carry him off. and about a month later, he rang me to say, you're right. I said, I know, you're right. Well, I've still got the scars.
Basically, you moved to the Midlands to play for West Bromwich Albion. It didn't go as planned though, did it?
Not at all. Not at all.
You spent more time helping out the kit man.
That was just one game. I played in the reserves. I was in the same league as Derek Kevin, who played for England. He was one of the leading goal scorers until Tony Brown beat his record. And played in the reserves. I was enjoying, and a chap called Archie McCauley got the job, who'd been manager of Norwich. A couple of weeks after we were there, he sent for me, said, I tried to sign you last year when I was at Norwich. Well, players didn't find out then. And he said, but you signed for the Albion. And he said, I want you in the first team. Well, they always said that, new managers. And the following Wednesday, I played in a game. It wasn't the reserves, it was a game against Birmingham City. I don't know what they call the league then, it's for the third team at the Albion. And I scored a hat-trick. The following week, West Brom was playing at Cardiff, a midweek match. And the day before, somebody said, have you seen the team sheet? And I was in there's about 12, 13 players. And so I think I've got a chance here. Yeah, of course. So I rang my father up and told him that it might be. And when I got down, we went on the day of the match. There weren't many overnight stops then. And when I got to the ground, all excited, the kit manager said, come on, Colin. He said, you're with me. I did nothing but help with the kit, doing the match. And that was the nearest I got to the first team.
Following spells at Southport, Peterborough and Yeovil, you then decided to come back to the Midlands.
Yes.
What made you return here and eventually end up at Halesowen Town Football Club?
I basically came because at the Albion I met my wife, Jane, and she wanted to come back to the Albion. And so I applied to join the police force. I'd applied to join the Yorkshire Police Force, but then different forces had different heights. And I was only 5'8" and a bit. and I realised that they were like 5'10" there, so I applied to join the West Mids, and I put 5'9" on that was it was 5'9" for the West Mids. And I was fortunate, the Assistant Chief Constable, Mr. Solomons, he was football daft, and he was seen on my CV that I'd been a professional football and all this England schoolboys and all that. And so I passed this entrance exam, then I had to come to Walsall for the final interview, and I walked in, and his first two questions were, "You're not injured, are you?" I said, "No." I said, "I'm all right." He said, how tall are you?" I said, "About 5'8.5". And he looked at the form. Yeah. "And you're still fit?" I said, "Yeah." "You look 5'9" to me. He changed it, he put it 5. And he said, "I'm determined to beat the old Birmingham City football team, police." Right. We never did. No. So and I joined the police force, and I was stationed at it was Dudley, but I was stationed. I went to live in Netherton, and I finally retired with a dodgy right ankle that I picked up in the game that I didn't play, and I retired in '94, and John Morris had been the manager here. John's still around now. He's Yeltz at Star, but in fact he's coming today. And I applied for the job here and came and had a good interview. But a lad who was told was caretaker manager, and he'd done a good job, so they gave Stuart the job. But I had a phone call a few days later from Ron Mosley, who was the chairman at the time. He said, "We're looking for an experienced person to help Stuart. Would you be interested?" I said, "Well, yeah," because I'd left the police force then. I was still managing the police, but I told them that I was be looking for a job away from the police. And so I came and met Stuart, and we got on like house on fire. That was in '94, and apart from a couple of hiccups, I've been here ever since.
And of course, it's over 21 years now associated with this football, which is an incredible achievement in the game by anybody's standards. How much are you still enjoying it as chairman here?
Not as much. I'm finding, I love Halesowen, it's part of my, but I'm 70, I'll be 75 at Christmas. So I've just almost 60 years now. And I've kept saying that for the last, when they asked me to become, Steve asked me to be chairman 4.5 years ago now. And I never see myself as a chairman, I've always seen myself as a football person. I'm not a businessman, I'm not clever at business, so I never even thought about it. But he persuaded me that I might be able to, because I've been here so long and people tend to trust me, and so I accepted it and I said I'd do it for 2 years. And this is 4.5 years now. I'm running on empty at the moment, and it's something that I will have to consider. But I'll always be part of Halesowen, and always will be. I had some great times here, met some wonderful people, but I sometimes think, am I holding younger people back? And I've discussed it with Steve and John, and we've talked about it, and they said no, but I'm just hoping that we can stay up this year.
In April 2009, you announced you would be stepping down as general manager, of course, Halesowen Town, but it produced a U-turn. So just tell us exactly what was going through your mind at the time.
It was the time of the administration, all the problems with Morel Mason and the Ingrams. The club wasn't being run properly, and I just couldn't see me any longer working with those kind of people, and so I resigned. And within a few weeks, things turned round, and I was asked if I would come back, and I jumped at the chance, and so I didn't. I was away a few weeks, but came back and never regretted it. Thoroughly enjoyed my time. It's a wonderful place, lovely people, and we're doing all right. We've got a great manager at the time. Now, John's been here 4.5 years, and in the 22 years I've been here, considering all the circumstances, with finance and the where we were in the old Southern League, in 4 years, the progress on the pitch under John has been remarkable. And so hopefully we can make sure this season that we at least keep our place in the Premier League.
Well, that was my next couple of questions actually, Colin, because to this day you are, of course, the chairman, like you say, as you have been for a few years. We're coming towards the business end of the season now, and of course it's only our second season in the Evo Stick Premier Division. Unless we go on an incredibly bad losing run, we'll be playing our football at this level again next season. Are you disappointed with how this season has turned out, or can you see exactly what progression is being made behind the scenes by John and his coaching staff, which you did allude there?
Yeah. The biggest problem we've had this year is that we've lost so many players. If you look at our team today, or our squad today, there'll only be 3 players that's in the squad that was in the squad last season. So you have to take that into account. Last season, after getting promotion, we kept all the players, John did, and there was all these players that he brought. And that's what disappointed John and myself at the end of last season. We lost a lot of players who John had brought to the club. He'd improved, but for their own reasons, and they're entitled to do it. It wasn't a complaint, it was just a fact that this season has been much more difficult for him. We finished about 11th last year, I think, 12, and that was a great effort. But there was with players who'd been there all last season. This season, he's had to build almost two sides, and that's took its toll. But he doesn't complain; he gets on with it. And I hope, for his sake, more than anybody, and myself, I'm being selfish. I want us desperately to stay up. I'm sure we will. We've got some very difficult games to come up, but I'm sure we need about 9 points from 11 games, and hopefully, fingers, legs, everything crossed, we'll get them.
Yeah, and in regards to John Hill, I know you gave him some wonderful praise in the Hyde Match Day programme at the back end of last year, but just sum up what kind of a job you believe he's done for this football club.
Remarkable, with what we've been able to give him, because of the problems we had going into admin. There hasn't been a lot of, I wouldn't think he's in the top 10, 12, 15 budgets in the league. Hasn't bothered him. He finds local players, he makes them better. If and when we lose them, he says, well, we get on with it. And his playing record, I know we're having a bad run at the moment, but his playing record, I think he's in the top 3 managers of the last 20 odd years, even longer than that. And other than managers, they had bigger budgets, better times. But taking everything into account, the progress, if you look back where we were when we appointed him to where we are now, a remarkable progress. And his staff as well, who's got with him.
And on the finances as well, there's been a lot of talk recently among supporters and forum discussions. Obviously, I don't expect you to go into great detail about the subject. But can you give the supporters an idea of where we stand? For example, is John able to go out and get who he wants, or is it a case of sitting there and working together within a budget?
He can't go and sign who he wants because the finances we mentioned about. We're getting outbid now. Simple. Starbridge, they've got Christian Green. They took Tom Tonks. They've now took Joe Hull. And I'm not saying that it's all about finance, but there's a lot of it about finance, and that's where we are. He can sign. He's got a budget. He knows what the budget is. Steve Lynch does his very best to make sure that he gets that budget week in, week out. But there's only a certain kind of player that he can sign for the certain kind of money that he's got. But what I would say that he spends every penny so wisely, never comes back and bothers you for more. He just gets on with it. And the players he brings in, we're not the best Halesowen Town football team by a long way, but we're one of the fittest and we're one of the hardest working. We do lack a bit of a quality and decision making, but you get that with that extra quality and finance.
How about the ground? I know there was a major revamp in the summer last year. Are there any future plans at the end of this season to make any improvements, or is it, like you've just mentioned there, just finances and going with what you've got?
Yeah. I think we're aware we need to improve the pitch, and we're also aware that there's a few jobs around the ground that we'll need doing to get your grades.
Yeah.
But we've got a great bunch of supporters now that run the Grove, Friends of the Grove. They've been here this morning working on the pitch, I'm told, on the surroundings. So you rely on them doing a lot of the work. And that's our local clubs. The less money they have to spend, perhaps the more money they've got for other things. So I think we've got the best floodlights in the league. We've got a very old-fashioned ground that people try and look after it well. The club is run properly. Sandra, who's doing the catering today, we're renowned for having the best hospitality in the league. And so we try other ways. But bottom line is fans want to see success on the pitch. And that's why John, we managed to keep most of our supporters, because in his first season we just missed out on promotion, on the playoffs. The second season we won it by winning the last 10 games, which was remarkable. Yeah. And we've kept in the Premier. And that's what, and the fans have been superb. The majority of them have stuck with us. And hopefully they'll continue to. Because I think they appreciate when you tell them these things. Why people have come to me and said, why has Joe Hull gone to Stourbridge? Yeah. Why did you let him go? Yeah. We haven't let him go. He's not on contract. Clubs put 7 days in, and after that 7 days, the player's entitled to go where he wants. Yeah. We try and persuade him not to, but we haven't got the same things that what they can offer. And that's fact. 21 years ago, when I came to Halesowen town, I was going to Stourbridge and pinching their best players. Because then we could afford them better facilities, better football, so swings and roundabouts.
Yeah, it goes in cycles. Like
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Colin. An absolute pleasure to spend some time with you. And let's hope we can string a few victories together between now until the end of the season. No pressure, John Hill, of course. Thank you for your time, Colin.
Enjoyed it, thank you.